All right, so welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, always fun to
Always fun to
dive deep.
look into these things.
Exactly. And today we're going to be looking at the GPU market.
Okay.
And we've got this YouTube video here from an industry expert talking about, GPU pricing and competition and all that stuff.
Always a hot topic.
Always a hot topic.
Yeah, sure.
And there was this one quote that really kind of jumped out at me, and I wanted to kind of get your take on it.
Sure.
It was, even when the competitors' chips are free, it's not cheap enough.
That's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement.
Yeah.
What do you think they're trying to say there?
Well, I think it really gets at the heart of how Nvidia thinks about their business.
Okay.
It's not just about the sticker price of the GPU itself.
Right.
It's about the total cost of ownership for their customers.
The total cost of ownership.
The TCO.
Okay, so we're talking about like the whole enchilada.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just the upfront cost, but the long term.
The whole life cycle.
Okay.
So you're looking at everything
Yeah.
from the time it takes to get these things up and running.
Right.
The performance you get out of them, how efficiently you can utilize them, how flexible they are across different applications. It's really the complete picture of, how much a customer is spending to get value out of that GPU.
It's kind of buying a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
look at the sticker price, but then you got to think about gas and insurance and
maintenance
and all this stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it all adds up.
It all adds up.
Yeah.
And the point this expert is making is that Nvidia is trying to provide so much value in terms of performance and efficiency and all those things we just talked about.
Right.
That even if a competitor came along and said, hey, here's a free GPU,
Yeah.
it still might not be the cheapest option for the customer in the long run.
Interesting. So it's about the value, not just the price. But how does Nvidia actually deliver on that? It can't just be marketing,
Absolutely not.
How do they actually make that happen?
Well, they've made some pretty significant investments that contribute to that lower TCO for their customers.
Okay.
One example that comes to mind is their CUDA platform.
Okay.
This allows developers to optimize code specifically for NVIDIA GPUs.
Okay.
And that can really drastically reduce development time
Yeah.
and boost performance, which, faster development means quicker time to market for businesses.
Right. Which means more money.
Exactly. Yeah, it has direct financial implications.
So time saved is money saved.
Absolutely.
Are there any other sort of concrete examples like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there have been studies that show that, in areas like AI model training, for example, NVIDIA GPUs can achieve much faster training times compared to competitors.
Okay.
Sometimes, up to 50% faster.
Wow.
And that translates to lower electricity costs.
Makes sense.
Faster time to market for businesses. Yeah.
Again, these are very concrete savings that really impact the bottom line.
Yeah, no, that's huge.
It is.
So it seems like they're really playing the long game here.
Yeah.
They're not just trying to undercut people on price. They're thinking about the bigger picture.
Exactly. And that creates a very high barrier to entry for competitors.
Right.
It's not enough to simply match NVIDIA's price.
Yeah.
You have to match or exceed their entire value proposition, which includes, the software they offer, the support, the developer community they've built around their products.
It's an ecosystem.
The ecosystem. Yeah, it's a tall order.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah.
So that quote about the free GPUs really is about more than just the price it's about.
It's about the value.
The value, yeah. Total value.
And the long-term cost.
The TCO, yeah.
It's a really interesting way to look at this market.
It is, and it makes you wonder, what other industries could benefit from this kind of thinking? Where else could we be looking beyond just the initial price tag and considering that lifetime cost?
That's a really good question. What industries could learn from this?
Yeah.
Things to think about.
Lots to think about.
Well, thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.